in 1936, when Hitler came, first thing was we couldn't go to our private schools anymore. We had to go back to the Jewish school. But I had reached a level that was equivalent here of having a high school certificate plus, okay? So that later helped me very much. When they closed everything and I couldn't go to school anymore, we had friends who had a wholesale textile business, and I worked for them as an apprentice until Kristallnacht. You know what is funny? In Europe they write the day first and then, you know that. Our 9/11 and their 11/9. It's the strangest thing. I don't know if anyone ever pointed it out to you, because people don't know that about the. I was brought up very protected. At those times, when, like today the kids of 12 are having dates. I was 16, I wasn't allowed to date. I had to be, curfew was at 7 o'clock and bed was 9 o'clock at 16. So I had gone to bed and I was asleep. And I woke up and the bed was shaking. And my mother was sitting on the back. I said, "What's happening?" I said, "We're having an earthquake." And I said, "Why is the room so, it's like sunlight." And you know, the curtains were drawn and everything. She said, "We lived across from the back of the synagogue." She said, "The synagogue's burning." So that was the 9th of September. We were lucky. My grandmother, my mother, my aunt and I were all women, no men. So they didn't bother us. But they went everywhere else and they damaged everything to smithereens. The stores, the windows, or everything was in the store. My mother later married an engineer who had a store with bathtubs and toilets and things. Everything was smashed to smithereens. Then they went to the apartments and they killed whatever they could there. I don't mean killed people, but property. The Nazis used to stand in the door of a Jewish store, and on the window in white paint they wrote, "Jew, do not buy here." So that was the first boycott. Then they had a paper that had all caricatures of Jewish people, extended with noses like this, and that was hanging on the, you know, the synagogue had a school, no, attached, and had a recreation area, and then they had a fence around it, and this was on the fence, so everybody could see it. That's as far as I knew about anti-Semitism. And of course, you saw the girls that you went to school with. They were all in uniform now, and the boys also. They were promoting for the girls to have children. That's all. He paid extra. Gold stars, mothers. They didn't have to be married, but he wanted more people, more youth. The night after Kristallnacht, I can see it to this day. The police had huge buses, no windows, was open, had a top, but no sides. And I saw that bus, and I saw all the Jewish men in that bus. They were picking up one after another, took them to jail, and from jail they were sent to concentration camp. And 6 weeks later, they came back because they weren't ready. But you couldn't recognize them. My girlfriend's father had an infection on his head. They were sleeping on straw. They had hardly anything to eat. It was terrible. In October of '38, so just before Kristallnacht, they deported all the Polish Jews, and they dumped them in no man's land between, there is a strip between Germany and Poland, that if you were on the train, they locked all the doors. They didn't want anyone to get in. Nobody was going to get out, but they didn't want anyone to escape either. They dumped them there. The Poles didn't want them. The Germans didn't want them. Never heard of anyone. They must have all starved to death there, or what happened. Terrible. I was an apprentice, if I told you. And we had a customer, and he was Polish. So I went to their house at night, and I helped them to pack. And I went to the station, and I saw these trains going out.